Hello and welcome to Reality TV Cringe. I am one of your hosts, Julia, here with my real tight homegirl and my daughter-in-law, the beloved Beatrice.
That's me.
We are here to talk sister wives, honey. We had a new episode drop with so much piping hot tea.
It was delicious.
We're going to get into all of that and more, but before we do, we have to issue you a disclaimer. Please hide your wife and hide your kids. This is a politically incorrect podcast. We are stupid people with stupid opinions, and sometimes we swear even.
Yeah.
And so if you're one of them sensitive people,
Go away, you little baby.
you might want to find yourself another dumpster.
Bye.
But if you're ready to litigate on behalf of your ownership of Coyote Pass, welcome to this dumpster.
And if you like what we do over here and you think that we're very pretty, because we are, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Reality TV Cringe and join us on Patreon, patreon.com/Reality TV Cringe. That is the real party over there. We got so much uncensored content, ad-free stuff. If you hate all these ads that are up in these episodes, go to Patreon.
Yes, you can get it all there and so much more.
Yeah.
If you are watching on YouTube, please do not forget to like and comment and share and subscribe, because truly, verily, I say unto you, everything you do helps us to grow in the algorithm. And when we're growing, we're getting fatter. And the fatter we are, the closer to heaven and the closer to ascending Mount 6,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Our personal K2.
Yes.
Our personal Everest. Anything you do will help. So thank you in advance.
Thank you.
Now, before we get into this episode, I have to ask you, Beatrice,
What?
do you have any takeaways? Like when you turned it off, okay, and you took your deep breaths, you struck your meditative pose and you calmed down a little. What was your thought? What was your
my vibe?
Your vibe.
My general vibe this week was that I feel like Robin is getting kind of tired of Kody. Like their Valentine's Day date was super awkward. And she just looked like she was not happy to be there. Maybe she ran out of Ambien. I don't know. But like she was looking a little ragged.
Ooh.
Her hair was looking a little.
Whoa.
Ooh.
I did clock some grays.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't care. Like grays are cool. I'm not shaming the grays. But I'm just like, Robin is always super put together. Her hair is always turbo dyed. Her makeup is always turbo done. I'm not saying that she looks pretty.
Right. It's not done well. None of it is done well.
I'm just saying she's normally
but it is done up.
Put together. She's normally a little bit chipper in her interactions with Kody. I know. It's Robin. But I'm just saying, like, this Valentine's Day date, like when he gives her the jewelry, which we'll talk about later, she just looked like, thanks. Like, pained.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really pick up on that.
That was my vibe.
That whole thing felt very scripted to me. But we will talk about it when we get to that part. Very interesting. Interesting indeed.
Yeah.
My major takeaway was that Janelle, she's one of us.
Oh.
When Janelle opened up her mouth to call out Robin as a diesel jeans model. I'm like, does she watch our podcast?
I know, I thought that too.
Does she watch this podcast?
I thought that too. I'm like, what?
I was like, thank you for calling it out. Oh, and then you had to think I thought in my brain, in my small little pea raccoon brain, I'm like, oh my God, Robin's going to watch this back.
Oh, for sure.
And she's going to hear that.
Yep.
And she probably already knows that all of us on the internets, we say that all the time about her and her breakdancing pussy as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering what Robin is going to think hearing that. And for the record, I do not believe that Robin ever modeled anything a day in her life. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm frequently wrong, but I don't think she ever was a diesel jeans model.
I don't think so either.
Maybe she owned a pair. I don't think she was.
Well, maybe she was, like you go on like a crappy commercial. Like maybe she was like one of those people where you're just an extra.
She was on maybe like at the mall
or
one Sunday there was like a fashion show in Utah. in polygamous Utah, and she
In
was
Utah.
like wearing some
Oh.
diesel jeans. There's just no way. I think she tried on some diesel jeans. She came out of the bedroom and she said, Kody,
Look
do you
at
like
me.
these? And that's the extent of her modeling career. There's just no
Probably.
way.
No, there has to be no way. And like we've all been talking about her being a diesel jeans model. Like Reddit has been saying it too.
Mhm.
Like, so maybe Janelle
Yeah.
is a raccoon. Maybe
Yeah.
she's on the internet.
Yeah.
And she's listening to podcasts like ours, which I would love.
Oh.
Hi, Janelle.
I don't know. Sorry about everything. But hi, we love you and we stand.
We do stand you.
I just thought that was such a great comment.
Yeah.
And I live, I breathe, I laugh, I
Same.
love
it too.
Love it so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that we want to talk about? I know we want to talk about the jewelry
Yeah.
at the Valentines dinner, but we'll do that during the scene or maybe afterwards.
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll do a Patreon exclusive because I have some things to say. I have some thoughts
Me
about
too.
that. And I do want to dive into it, but we'll do it at the back end.
At the end, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into this episode. We are in season 19. This was episode 22.
Yeah.
Sure do. 2 22s in my shoes. Holla if you need me, love. I'm in the house. Anyway, so what was the name of this one?
Love covers all wrongs. I don't know what that means.
Well, it is a scripture. I think the scripture reads, love covers the multitude of sins.
Okay.
And I'm wondering what this might be in reference to. Is it in
Kody?
reference to Kody and Robin's love covering the multitude of their wrongs? Because somehow I don't think
Ew.
the producers would do that.
But their love is not pure. Maybe it's Christine and David's love.
Oh, maybe because she does talk about her confidence taking a
Mhm.
huge hit
Yeah.
and how now basking in the love of David Woolley, it's changed her life. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe.
But we'll get into it.
We will get into
Start
it.
us off, Beatrice.
Well, we started off strong with Mary and Janelle on Coyote Pass
Mhm.
talking about lawyering up and the division of Coyote Pass. And this was a really interesting conversation. It was really interesting to see Janelle and Mary talk about this so candidly because they're kind of going into Kody and Robin a little bit.
Mhm.
And even Mary is speaking up and talking about how unfair it is that Kody and Robin think that they can just get away with everything, get
Mhm.
away with the land, get away with all the money that her and Janelle contributed to. Like,
Mhm.
so it was really interesting. What did you think about this whole conversation?
I thought there were many compelling facets from the actual contribution for Coyote Pass, the spiritual release / divorce,
Yeah.
the conversation about Janelle and Mary and their relationship. Like I thought that there were some really cool moments, but I just loved that they were getting in the ass of Kody
Yes.
and Robin because they did contribute to that property.
Of course.
And it was the last Thanksgiving, we've got Mary coming over with her final check, presumably to pay for her quarter of all this property. And so them bitching about Kody not answering them, like not just having the decency. And I think Janelle refers to this as just regular, degular human decency to just respond.
Yep.
Or to just let us know what's going on because we're trying to cut cords here. We're trying to get what is ours and you won't even talk to us. I was just like, ooh. And then when they cut to Kody and Kody said something like, we actually paid $160,000 more than they did. I was like,
Mhm.
that's because you are the owner of more than 50% at the
Mhm.
time. That's because you both are a couple. And
Yep.
so, of course, for your shares, you're going to be paying more. What do you mean?
Of course, but even then, I'm like, you're paying that with the family money, which was contributed by TLC and Janelle and Mary's paychecks, and probably Christine's too. Christine probably was putting into that pot.
Absolutely.
But then when she divorced from Kody, she was like, I don't even care. I just want to be done and clear of all of my ties to you because dealing with financial stuff, she says later in the episode, sucks.
Mhm.
Dealing with Kody with finances sucks. So it was really interesting, this whole thing. And like Janelle said the only reason why she got a lawyer was because Kody was not responding to emails. And Mary, same thing. She's like, my communication is null. Like I don't get to talk to Kody. He doesn't respond to me. He's not telling me what we're doing with any of this. And Kody, panned to him, his justification for this is, well, I just don't know what to do. I'm not responding because I don't know what to do. I'm like, be a grown up, dude. You have your name on all of these plots. These women are trying to get out. They're leaving your ass because you don't want them anyway. And they want to get out. And that's fair. But Kody's like, I don't know what to do. Janelle feels like she's owed something because she's divorcing me.
Well, yeah, that's how divorce works.
Hello.
You walk away from the marriage and you're entitled to your share of whatever you have built in that marriage.
Duh.
So Janelle absolutely has the right to have an expectation to receive fairly what she put into this.
Yes.
But like the way that he frames it, and when he says, I think something along the lines of like, Robin is the one who's not ready yet to sell Coyote Pass. And I'm just not going to let these women rush Robin. Like when she's ready, we will sell. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir, but I can acquire an attorney and we can put this in front of a judge and we can compel you to sell because I'm a part owner. So it's just like a power play. It's a constant power play.
Yep.
And he likes to pretend that he doesn't want these women anyway, although he changes his tune at the end of this episode.
And that was interesting.
But he likes to pretend that he doesn't want these women anyway. But the reality is he's so turbo butthurt that they had the audacity, especially Janelle, to walk away from him. And so he's just going to make it as painful as possible. Oh,
of course.
Hold on. All right, back from Uncensored. My husband came and brought me a very tall alcoholic beverage. So we'll see how I last tonight. What was I saying? What was I talking about? I was talking about Kody.
Yeah.
Being turbo butthurt.
Yes.
Because these women had the audacity to leave him.
Yep.
And so he's doing a power play and making it as hard as he can.
And even Janelle calls that out. She says that she thinks his ego is hurt by all of this and that's why he's acting like a big baby. Mary is like straight up mad. She's in her angry phase of like, why does it even have to be this way? Like Mary even says in this conversation, she's like, I really thought that Kody was going to be better about this, which is kind of sad that she even thinks that because it shows Mary's loyalty and it shows her like faith in Kody as like being a good person. And it's sad that she thinks that because we're all sitting here screaming into the void about how Kody's demon possessed.
Right.
And awful.
And it was just a few months previous to this that he's clutching on to her as he's depositing her in Parowan, Utah after driving her U-Haul and crying, sobbing about the end of an era. And so I think she definitely thought that they could be friends and that they could conduct themselves like with integrity. But as soon as he got back to Flagstaff, I think he ghosted her and he never, ever wanted to talk to her again. And then, of course, there was the crushing shame that came along with the spiritual release and the determination that he abandoned Mary. Like, he can't take it, honey.
No, he cannot take it.
He cannot handle that.
He can't handle any of this. That's why he's not responding to any of their emails or messages because he just doesn't want to deal with it. It's not that he doesn't know what to do. He just wants to avoid it and wants to act like it never happened. And like Janelle is really cool here because she is advocating for not only herself, but for Mary. And she's expressing to Mary over and over again in this conversation that she feels so bad for Mary being on a third of one plot. Like she doesn't even have her name on a full plot. And that sucks because she's in kind of the worst position here. Janelle's not in a good position either, but
she's in a better position.
She is in a better position.
And she doesn't really have to help Mary, but she's doing it. And if they join forces together, they can really compel them to give them something that's fair. But like without each other, they really don't stand that kind of a chance. Probably. It'll be harder. And they would have to have attorneys and they'd have to litigate the heck out of this.
Yep. And this is also where we hear from Janelle that Kody's always been like this and she should have saw it coming. She should have seen this whole situation coming and she didn't. And Mary advocates and is like, well, you know, you can say you're naive, but like we actually thought Kody was going to be a good guy. We thought that he cared about the whole family and it turns out he didn't. And then Janelle tells an interesting story about how she had to pay off all of her debt on her own. And this debt is what she took out to actually take care and support the family.
In Lehigh.
And then, I guess when Robin sold her house in Vegas, or no, when she had her house in Vegas, or was it the house here in Flagstaff?
I think it was the house in Vegas that Kody was talking about. Like the proceeds of that sale went toward family debt.
Right. which I'm like,
I don't
think that
believe
happened.
that.
I think it went to Robin's debt. I don't think it went to family debt. And then Janelle talked about wanting to be on the deed for one of Robin's houses. I think it was maybe the Flagstaff house.
It's the
first
McMansion. It's the McMansion, yeah.
And Kody said no because Robin needs her estate.
Right. And Janelle should have said in that moment, well, I don't have an estate. I have nothing. I just sold my house and I just gave you the proceeds of that sale so that Robin could have this McMansion. So if you put my name and Mary's name and Robin's name on this house, then we all have part of that estate.
Yep.
Like there were so many critical points in the process over the years where they should have said something. I thought it was very fascinating that Mary claims to have said something and asked questions about like, why are you putting your name on all of the plots, or why are we doing it this way? And when she said something like that, she got some pushback from a couple of people in the family.
Yeah, she said she got in trouble.
Yeah.
She said she...
So from who? So obviously Kody.
Of course.
Kody would not have liked that. And I imagine Robin would be the other person.
Oh, for sure. But I feel like Robin probably wasn't like outwardly mad, but she manipulated it and twisted it into this situation of like, no, you're not being fair. You're not being a team player. Because I think Janelle mentions that too. Like anytime they ever had any kind of pushback about these weird financial decisions that they were making, you know, Kody would say, you're not being a team player.
Right.
Basically, shut up and stop dissenting because we're going to do it my way.
And I'm the patriarch. I actually wondered in that moment if the person who like gave some resistance to Mary was Janelle. Because Janelle said something in that conversation like, yeah, you know, we just kind of had to fall into line or something like that. Like we couldn't be really loud about it. We couldn't really make a fuss about it. I'm like, I'm wondering if Mary's calling you out a little bit, but I just can't, I don't know. I just can't imagine that Janelle with all of her financial acumen would have a problem with Mary saying, can we get some transparency?
Right.
Like, can we figure out a strategy? Like, why are we doing it this way? I don't understand. And I have every right to, since I am paying in. That's eminently reasonable.
Yep.
But if it wasn't Janelle, then it was Robin and Kody.
Oh, definitely.
That gave Mary a hard time, which is just wild to me. So Mary's being bullied during this time.
Yep.
Being bullied to hand over money. So is Janelle. And what does she get for doing all that? She gets ghosted in Flagstaff during a global pandemic and has nobody, no one, not a one.
Not a one. And then when they're trying to divide Coyote Pass fairly and equally, they're not getting any communication from Kody or Robin. And then Cody's telling the cameras that Robin doesn't want to sell. So we can't rush it because apparently what? Robin dictates
poor little
everything.
Precious Robin. Yes.
And that's the thing. Like that's what Cody's telling on himself and telling on Robin here when he's saying that. It's like, okay, so now we know.
Yeah.
All you care about is Robin. And Kody even says something crazy like, you know, when he's talking about Janelle being entitled to something, he's like, well, I don't have an estate. My only estate is Robin's estate. Like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
So you're tied to that.
Right. And you're trying to say you don't have anything, but I just love after we have this whole conversation and then they pan over to them with Ariela's vanity and all the crap in their house after he's talking about how he doesn't have anything and it's all really Robin's. I'm just like, oh my God, all the artwork, all the statues, all the crystals, all the things. It is wild.
It's crazy.
Yes. And also, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm jumping on you, but him saying the line again, and I'm just repeating myself, but the audacity to say like, I mean, Janelle expects something after 30 years of marriage. She expects to walk away with something when you're the one who walked away. When we all know, Kody, you pushed these women away.
Of course you did.
But you're singling out Janelle here because, again, Janelle is the one that got away for Kody.
Definitely. And also, she was the one that he, I think, pressured a lot more into financial stuff. Like, if she had to take on, probably thousands upon thousands of dollars of debt just to support the family because maybe nobody else was willing to do that. Who knows? Like, that's crazy. And yeah, she's entitled to one parcel. Like, we even panned
she's
to
entitled
Christine.
to so much more than just one parcel.
Of course. But like in the respective Coyote Pass, like she's entitled to a quarter of that.
She's not asking for a lot.
No, she's just asking for her fair share. And like we even panned to Christine being like, I'm so glad I'm out of Coyote Pass. Like I really hope they will divide it equally 4 ways. But if I know Kody, like it's not going to happen that way. And we know because we've seen how the parcels were kind of divided up. It wasn't really divided up like we all thought it would be. people's names
Mhm.
got switched onto it or
Mhm.
whatever. I don't know how they divided the proceeds from the $1.5 million sale of all of it, but hopefully everybody got their fair share and they're done and over with it and cut off their ties. What did you think about the whole spiritual divorce conversation?
I loved this
So good.
because on the one hand, we have Janelle doing Mary a solid, like by aligning herself for their financial interests, aligning themselves together. And then it's not really a quid pro quo. Mary's not doing this for Janelle because she owes her anything, but I loved seeing her say, well, I'll show up for you. And they have the conversation about the spiritual release. And we start by Mary saying something like, yeah, oh God, Kody was really upset about that. He didn't like how that went down. So they talked about it a little. But then we kind of got into Janelle's present faith and how she feels about a spiritual release. And she makes it very clear that she's not in the same situation as Christine. Now, Christine, by this point, has abandoned her faith. I don't know about her LDS, her Mormonism, her mainstream general stuff, but certainly the AUB. She's no longer a part of that. But she did not feel the need to get a spiritual release. She's like, I'm not married to this man legally. I can move on. And I have no problem with that. But Janelle is saying that she actually is still part of the faith and she still does believe in their doctrines and their tenets. And in the future, if she meets somebody, presumably someone who aligns with her faith, like, is she going to feel like, well, I've got this other marriage, this spiritual marriage kind of hanging over my head. So do I want to get it? So the conversation that ensues from that, I thought was really cool to see these women who have been through so much life together and had ups and they had a lot of downs.
Oh, yeah.
But Mary saying, like, oh, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
Like, we can do it together. And
That was so awesome.
you know, and we can have a separate conversation, like not on camera, where I can tell you what is involved and you can make the decision. So I just thought that was really wonderful personally.
Really cool. And I liked how Mary was still like validating the spiritual part of it, like telling Janelle, like, well, you were married that way for 30 years. And so it is valid. And like, if you want to get the spiritual release, freaking do it. So that way you have no more ties to Kody at all. And I think that is what appeals to Janelle ultimately, because prior to this, she was like, kind of like, I don't really care. Like, I'm done with Kody. I've already left. I'm in North Carolina now. Like, it doesn't matter. But in this conversation, Janelle starts being like, yeah, you know what? Like, I don't want any more ties, not even a spiritual one. And she brings up God and she's like, well, I don't want to upset God either if I'm like still spiritually tied to him. I think she says something like, I believe in everything in my faith except for polygamy. Like, she no longer believes in that anymore, which was kind of interesting.
I see her going back to just mainstream LDS.
Yep.
And just being a regular, degular Mormon. But
yeah.
The faith is still very important to her. And I really appreciated the conversation about the afterlife.
Yeah.
And like what happens. And Mary was still so charitable because she talks about Kody not wanting to be tied to her in the afterlife. And so she wants to make sure he doesn't have to be. But at the same time, she does not want to be tied to that man either. And at this time, the time of this filming, Mary is dreaming of the next chapter, the next romance, the next person, and she wants that very much for herself.
Yep.
So she just wants to clean the slate, and she wants to set up her life in the physical and also in the eternal, which is such a cool little snapshot into Mormonism for those of us who are not part of the religion.
Totally. And I do like the subtle, like, passive aggressive of getting the spiritual divorce, because Kody doesn't really subscribe to his church anymore, doesn't really care about the
he
AUB.
Seems to sometimes, though.
Only when it's convenient for him. But like, I feel like they like the idea of the spiritual divorce too, because it requires the church leaders calling up Kody and being like, yeah, you abandoned Mary. We're giving her the divorce on the grounds of abandonment, biatch. Which and then hang up.
He is still pissed about, even at the time of the filming of his interstitials, which I imagine is probably over a year after the fact. He's still mad about it. And he tells us on the couch, he's like, well, you know, essentially, Mary's lucky I didn't show up and, you know, testify as to why this marriage broke down, because if I did, they wouldn't have been able to give her the spiritual release.
Whatever.
I'm like, okay, Kody.
Whatever. So what is it? You wanted to be involved so that way they didn't say that you abandoned your wives because you hate the word abandonment? Or is it that they would just not grant the release? Like, he's trying to say, if you're a man in the church, they won't grant you a release. But a woman can go to the church leader and they'll give her a release no matter what.
Yeah,
and I'm
so I don't. He's trying to say, like, if I told them all the things Mary actually did to me, they wouldn't grant her the release. I'm sorry, I
Whatever.
don't think so. The fact that she's asking for it sounds like that's all she needs to do, and she's
Yep.
going to get it. You're just bitter and unhappy because you got called out in your religion, and that's the only reason you're no longer a part of that religion. Is because
Exactly.
they called you out and they said you abandoned these women. If they were still holding you up as some kind of a polygamous prize, you would still be aligned with that religion. It's all about your narcissism
Yep.
and your ego.
And he can't handle failure. Like, he's been a failure as a husband. He's been a
Mhm.
failure as a father. He's a failure as a polygamist. Like,
as a business person, as a
person.
provider. Yep.
as a guy with hair. Like, he's a failure.
On every level.
And so he just can't handle it. So
No.
that's why he's pissed off about it. But I love it. I'm like, wallow in it. I don't care.
I don't know. Just to me, it seems like it would be so easy to be like, yeah, it got really bad at the end.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't want to see any of these women.
Yeah.
And I was happy to just spend time with Robin. Obviously, I am more inclined to monogamy at this stage in my life. And I could have been a better husband. And yeah, I did abandon her. Like,
Yeah.
how hard would that be to just tell the truth? Why are you still trying to lie and put on airs because you can't handle it? I don't know. I feel like, is it because he can't handle it, like, internally, or is it because he doesn't want to appear that way to us? We already see you, though.
Well, yeah. But I think it's both. Like, if he's a true narcissist, like, narcissism is a giant cope of, like, you can't deal with shame, you can't be a failure, and so you overinflate your ego for everybody else. Like, he puts on this air for everyone else that he's this rich guy, he still has hair, he's a good husband, he's a good dad, but we all know the truth, and it's just a giant cope. So, like, I think he can't deal with it inside, and he's putting on airs for everybody else.
Okay.
But it's like,
It's sad. It's got to be a
It's-
sad way to live.
seriously, it's pathetic.
It'd be so much easier to just tell the truth. And, like, there's so much power in, like, owning your mistakes
Right.
and your failures.
Yep.
Like, that's the phoenix rising from the
Of
ashes,
course.
ironically.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Same thing with Robin. It's like, if you
Mhm.
just told the truth
She
about
just
how...
can't, though.
Yeah, because she can't be the villain, even though we all know she is the villain.
And in her attempts to try and appear as not the villain, she embeds herself even more
Yes.
as the villain. Like, when we get to the conversation, when they go out to dinner and we talk about Aspen and the way she's just editing the way that Cody's talking. And I'm just like,
Don't even get me started.
okay, we'll get there when we get there. But I'm just like, she's the villain.
She is 100% the
Mhm.
villain. Evil.
Yep.
And then we pan over to, like, this weird little segment for Valentine's Day with Christine and her
Oh,
girls,
God.
Aspen
Oh,
and
my
McKelty.
I am a broken record, and so I don't want to visit upon you just my absolute rejection of McKelty
She was so annoying.
in entirety.
Oh my God.
But I'm just like, here we go again with this weird energy, just grasping for the limelight, grasping
Yes.
for a moment. It is so uncomfortable to me. I'm truly in this moment. I'm like,
Me too.
bye. I'm going back to my room. Y'all do whatever you want to do with your sexy dancing.
Ew.
And we had to go back to the lap dance.
I know. Why
we
do
had
we
to
have
go
to
back.
see that?
We had to go back
Why
to
do we
the
have to
lap.
see
I
that?
don't know why.
We've seen it a
I
million
want
times.
Christine to be a sexual being. I love that she's getting loved down by David
Sure.
Woolley, but do we really need her to pantomime a striptease
No.
trying on a red dress? Do we really need to harken back to the wedding and the lap dance? No, we do not.
No.
This is a completely superfluous, unnecessary segment.
And it's, like, low-key inappropriate because Truly's there and she's
Uh-huh.
freaking 14.
And she's like, please don't. Like, could you not, though?
we don't need to talk about mom being sexy in front of me. Like, that's gross. Like, it's one thing with McKelty and Aspen, who are grown adults. Like, they have their own children. It's another with Truly right there. And then Christine makes a comment about Truly already has to live with newlyweds and she doesn't like it very much. Which I'm like, does that mean
Okay.
because you're banging a lot?
Yeah, probably.
That's gross.
When you're probably kissing and you're very demonstrative and affectionate, and that's okay, certainly.
Sure.
It's okay in moderation, let's
Yeah.
say. But, like, is she hearing stuff?
Probably.
No, I know.
And that's what makes me mad about it.
That's bad.
I've talked about it before on the
Yeah,
podcast.
you
and
have.
It pisses me off.
It does. It's inappropriate. But, like, McKelty walked in with that energy.
I
She's, like,
know.
talking
Ugh.
about Aspen's plans for later in the day.
To
And she's
have
like, you're going to
sex.
have sex. I'm like,
Can we
what are
stop?
we doing, McKelty? Just be a normal person.
She
you don't,
can't.
You don't have to fill every moment with your words and with your energy. Just, like, back off. Be Aspen in this moment.
I know. Just chill
Just
out.
quiet down. I can't stand her. And even Christine, oh my God,
Oh,
like
I
touching
know.
Aspen's hair. And she's
I
just
know.
always too much. These people are too much.
This is where Mykelti gets it from.
Yeah, oh yes.
I mean, Lowkey. I mean, this is why we talk about Christine being kind of annoying. It's because Mykelti's annoying. Like they
yes.
feed off of each other, and like they're obviously best friends, and that's great. But like, I don't need to see Mykelti.
I don't need to see it either. It's like Christine, Peyton, and Mykelti are all very similar personality-wise, and you've got Aspen and Gwendolyn. And then you have Aspen, Isabel, and Truly, who are just like trying to be like in the background. Like, please don't look at me. Please don't refer to me. I don't want to be in this shot.
Yep. Yeah. And that's me.
That's me in that moment as well. I don't need this.
Don't look at me.
So Christine's really excited because it's the first Valentine's Day celebration since they got married.
Oh my God.
They're going to be going out. So she's called her daughters over, both of whom have such beautiful hair.
Oh my God. Long.
Hair goals.
For real.
And you know, objectively, Aspen and Mykelti are both beautiful young ladies.
Yes, totally.
And the pride, I'm sure, of Christine, their mother. But she's called them over so that she can try on dresses and produce content for the show.
Yeah.
And it is cringe, honey.
For real.
I'm just like, oh God.
And then she picks like a red number that's off the shoulder so she can show her titty tattoo. And then she goes to dinner with David. Yeah. And with like a place near a fireplace or something. I don't know.
It looks lovely.
Looks great. They have alcohol.
Which is interesting. And she has more than one drink, which I love for her because here I am having a beverage as well.
Yeah.
What I loved about this was not a lot. Yeah. But what I did love about this was having Christine given a moment to talk once again about how her marriage to Kody affected her. And how him telling her that he was not attracted to her, not just in the last few years, not just in the last decade, but on the day of my cat's quinceañera and our wedding, I was not attracted to you. I have never been attracted to you, even though I was able to get my dick hard and give you, 6 children or however many you have. But like, I was never attracted to you. And like, what a toll that took on her emotionally as a woman.
Yeah.
And how that hurt her so much. And then we get that flashback to the Mormon conference room where she's telling him that they are going to be divorcing and they're hashing it out. And I just felt once again just really bad for her.
Oh, me too.
Like I can't even imagine not having a husband who's obsessed with me.
Right.
Just obsessed with every curve that I have, and I have so many, and my husband loves every bit of it, honey. I can't imagine living in a world where I'm not being adored sexually and in every way by my husband. Like, truly though, I feel bad, and I'm so glad that she's found David Woolley.
And honestly, I thought it was really cool how she talked about it, like how her confidence took a plummet and then she really had to work on herself before she even thought about dating again. And now you see her, I know, I'm like, you literally dated David Woolley like 2 seconds after.
Yeah, but okay, whatever.
But at the same time, it's cool that she was able to do that inner work, allegedly.
Sort of.
And like, you know, move on and get with a guy who literally says at the dinner table on their date, like, you're so fucking hot.
Right.
So that's great.
I love that for her.
And she deserves that. Like, no matter how annoying she is, I really am happy for her. And all of the lap dances that she gives David Woolley,
I never want to see that again.
I just never want to see it.
Well, and watching their scenes had me questioning whether they could really support a show just themselves.
Yeah, they're kind of boring.
Maybe as a part of a triad, you know, her, Janelle, and Mary, and what they're doing with their lives. But like, I could never just watch a show about Christine and her weird ass children.
I know.
And like what she's doing with her life, even though I'm sure it's very interesting. Like, I could never do it. Like, these segments don't need to be in these episodes.
No, they really don't. And the only reason why they included their Valentine's Day dinner is so they could just juxtapose it with Robin and Cody's Valentine's Day dinner, which is kind of like the next thing we get to before Valentine's Day.
I don't know. I'm just picturing them rising from their coffins, bats flying, cobwebs,
with all their vampire children.
To the Nosferatu, Cody Sferatu and Robin Sferatu sitting across from each other, like drinking from skulls.
Straight up.
Just, oh God, they're terrible people.
Evil people, man.
They're terrible people.
And like before the whole Valentine's Day dinner, we have them building a freaking vanity set for Ariel, who, listen, okay, she's an innocent child in all of this.
We're not going to dog out Ariel.
I'm not going to shit on Ariel.
Of course not. She's a baby.
She's a baby, and she doesn't realize her parents are demons.
Right, yeah.
But Yeah.
It's coming.
But Kody talks about how every year for Valentine's Day, they like to get their kids gifts. And so they bought little Ariel, who's like, I don't know,
6,
9,
7,
10,
8?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who cares? A tot. They buy her a vanity for Valentine's Day. And I'm just like, I was so bitter as a child watching this because I'm just like, man, you can't even call your other kids like on their actual birthdays, let alone Valentine's Day. Like, you can't even like have a relationship with all the other children you brought into the world. But yeah let's buy this 10-year-old a vanity set.
Here's my question. What about Saul?
Oh, well, yeah,
He's
right.
standing right there.
What does he get?
It's Valentine's Day for Saul, too. I mean, he went to school that day and he
What's
probably
his gift?
exchanged little Valentine's cards. I mean, he's celebrating Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
but like nothing for him. Crickets?
No. A new coffin.
A new coffin. It's in the basement, honey. A new coffin. Sorry.
That's so terrible.
I'm sorry.
That's so off. I shouldn't have said that.
That's fine.
But like, a vampire coffin.
Yeah.
It's nice and comfortable. Jeez. Forgive me, Lord.
But I'm just like, what about Solomon? It's
I mean,
kind of
right.
weird. Like when my husband and I celebrate Valentine's Day, which we never do because it's a corporate holiday,
Right.
just about making, well, we don't care about it. But
Yeah.
if we were to do it, it would be just as much about him as it is about me.
Exactly.
And plus you have 20,000 other kids who I'm sure would love to hear from you. Just one phone call from you for Valentine's Day. But no, it's all about Ariella. Can you imagine being his other children or his daughters watching this back?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I would have been so freaking pissed if I saw my dad, like, giving his other daughter a really awesome vanity because she likes some makeup. And it's a really thoughtful gift for little Ariella. And it's great. I'm glad that she's happy. But, like, if I was a daughter, I'd be like, really? Like, I don't even get, like, a little box of heart chocolates. I can't even get that.
A text.
Like, come on.
Anything.
But what was interesting about this segment is that when they bring up the Amazon package of this vanity box.
And there's my husband mowing. You told him.
I don't think we can hear it. I don't think anybody can hear it. I think you're crazy.
You don't have to tell me. It's fine. We can leave it in or whatever. But
Are you sure?
I think so. But it's like, are you sure we should?
Can you guys hear the mowing?
To STFU,
let us know that you can't hear it.
Beatrice told him that he could. And so now he's going to be out there just mowing all night, honey. Because you know he's got a beard. He's going for it.
With his little Coors Light out there.
Sorry. And just letting you know in advance, there might be some mowing going on in the background.
It'll be fine.
Anyway,
so they bring up the Amazon package from their basement full of other Amazon packages.
Next to the Dickensian Village and all those American Girl dolls.
Exactly. And Kody makes a comment about how Robin's the shopping queen.
Again, on the heels of the conversation between Janelle and Mary about how these people aren't paying them their money.
Chef's kiss. I love the producers for that.
Yeah.
I feel like they're totally throwing some shade or maybe throwing us some fan service a little bit with these edits.
They could do more.
They could
do a lot more.
They 100% could, but they're doing the best that they can.
Sure.
And I'm liking it a lot. And then we talk about Valentine's Day and how Cody's the Babe Ruth, where he sometimes knocks it out of the park and other times he strikes out, which I'm just like...
Right.
Okay.
I thought it was an interesting discussion about Valentine's Day in the polygamist structure, how it does kind of put the husband into a precarious situation because, like, you can't give one wife, like, preferential treatment. She gets something great and the other wives don't. We see some flashbacks to a time when he's, like, handing out flowers and he's not giving anybody a kiss and it's all very platonic. And I did think I thought it was really, I don't know, insightful of Robin. I know that's strange to hear in the form of a sentence, but I just thought it was very insightful when she talked about how she entered the family and the rule already existed that they could not show affection. Kody could not show affection to his wives and they could not show affection to him. And that it was her philosophy that they should. And that the wives and Kody were quick to, like, have arguments, have edgy talks, have fights, but they never allowed just for love and for affection. And maybe if they had, it would have been better for everybody.
Except then it would have been more obvious to see the disparity between the affection that Kody gave all of the other wives and Robin. And she talks about this, like how this rule made Kody and all of the other wives probably feel alone and feel like they couldn't show their affection, their love towards
Not safe.
their wives.
Not safe and secure.
And Robin says that this was like a huge mistake. She thinks that this was kind of like the downfall of the family. And we were already jealous anyway, so who cares if like you saw him be with another wife affectionately, like we're already jealous, which I can understand. But then we pan over to Christine and Mary, who kind of give their takes on it and say, well, it wouldn't have bothered me. I think Mary was the one that said this. Like, it wouldn't have bothered me if like I was in a good place with Kody to see him be affectionate with other wives. But when I was struggling, and Christine echoes this, when I was struggling, it was really hard for me to see him be in a better place with the other wives, which I could respect.
Sure.
It would be difficult. And this is why polygamy
doesn't work.
Not a good option.
Right.
Yes. Just not good at all.
And this is where we get the interstitial from Kody, where he talks about how Mary historically, certainly when they were first married, was very clingy.
Yeah.
Very needy, like sit in his lap and hug him a lot. And how it was Janelle's mother who approached him and said, it's really hard for Janelle to see that affection. So you might want to make a shift and a change. And from that moment on, they enacted this rule that they weren't going to show affection to one another. And Janelle says in her talking head, like, yeah, like you're going to have the rules apply to the different marriages according to the people in those marriages. And if everybody felt good about Kody and their relationship with Kody, it maybe wouldn't have been a big deal if he was affectionate or they were affectionate with him. But because there was always a problem in one of those relationships, they could never manage it.
Exactly. And because Kody couldn't manage his other relationships with everybody to make it feel like it was equal for everyone and make everybody feel equally loved, because, you know, love should be multiplied, not divided, it would have been better. Yes. It would have been fine.
Right.
They could have dealt with it. But they couldn't, because it's all Kody's fault.
Right. Is this when Janelle talks about how Robin doesn't really understand that life, because by the time she came into the family, like they had already scrimped and saved and like had all their hardships, and then she just reaped all the rewards? Was it this part or was it somewhere else?
It was probably earlier, but it was in the context of like Kody can have his diesel jeans model and live happily ever after, but like she's never been through the hard times with you. She said she's never been through the starving years. She talks about when she was holding her bra up with a freaking safety pin, like a diaper pin.
Yeah.
And like they were broke as hell, and she was with him through all of it. And I think James talked about this on My Take on Reality a little bit. Maybe he talked about it on a speak pipe or when we did our live with him, but he mentioned this very thing. So it was interesting to have Janelle echo it on the show and say like, yeah, that's cool. Like you can have her now when you're rich and you have all this money and all these cool things, but she wasn't there with you during the hard times.
Right. And
that's the woman you want to keep. And you got rid of all three of them.
Right. So it's easy for you, Robin, to talk about wanting affection or displays of affection, but you weren't there when we were trying to figure out all the rules so that we could make this family work. And so now, though, you've entered the family and we've all left. Now you get the benefit of all of the resources and all of the money and all of the assets. You get to have them. He gets to have his model. And I guess we're just out in the cold.
And this is like something we've talked about on prior episodes of like, would Robin leave Kody?
Right.
When the resources
would Robin have stayed?
Exactly.
If Robin was the second wife, if Robin was the third wife, like back in the day, would she have stayed during the lean years, or would she have had a problem with that? I suspect, given the debt that she walked out of her first marriage with to the Victoria's Secret and everything, I would suspect she would have not have been happy. She would not have wanted to struggle, and she never had to struggle with Kody.
Nope, not
That's
at all.
why she is going to be disinclined to leave him now, because again, the question is, where are you going to go, though, Robin? Where are you going to go? What you going to do?
I mean, for real.
Because money is her motivator.
Exactly. Very interesting.
Yes.
And then the last scene that we have is the Valentine's dinner with Kody and Robin at some weird steakhouse or something. I don't know. And this is where Kody gives her the jewelry, which we'll probably talk about later at the end. Because
let's save that for Patreon. We'll have like a deep dive discussion about the jewelry and how we really feel about that.
Yeah.
It's ugly.
It is horrible.
We'll talk about it then.
Yes. But he gives her the jewelry. He says it's pretty jewelry for a pretty lady.
Okay.
Which I'm like, is the pretty lady in the room with us?
It's the pretty jewelry in the room with us.
For real.
Yeah.
And then we get into a conversation about, I guess, Kody went and visited some of his eldest daughters.
He went, I think, probably for a visit with Truly. And when he was there, he also met with Aspen And it sounds like a couple of sons from a different mother. So I'm
Janelle.
thinking, obviously, Janelle,
Yeah.
unless he's referring to Peyton and another brother. I don't really know who this was, but he did have a conversation with Aspen, which sounds truly heartbreaking.
Yes.
And as a parent, I mean, I was just so sad for Aspen hearing how Kody is recounting the conversation as if it was like such a beautiful thing.
Yes.
But go on. I don't want to jump on your toes.
Yeah, like Robin asks the question, like, how was that? You know, because she's reading a script. And so she's asking Kody, like, how was that conversation? And Kody says, well, Aspen came to me and said that she feels like I hate her. Like, and I don't want to be around her.
Why don't you like me, Daddy?
Why don't you like me? And Robin makes a comment and says, well, that was more of a confrontation, which I didn't like. And actually, I had a conversation with Ethel about this because Ethel said this was the moment for her where she realized Robin was the villain because Kody is recounting Aspen telling him this heartbreaking thing. Why don't you like me, Dad? And Kody in his talking head is like, sweetheart, I love you. That's what he says to the camera anyway. And Robin turns it into, well, it was a confrontation. Makes it a harsher moment than what it needs to be. And Ethel said, this is indicative of Robin's soft manipulation, like always turning the situation into something worse than it actually needs to be. And that maybe Robin this entire time has just been pushing Kody away from his kids because she wants him to be focused on her kids only. And it shows because like the vanity set for Ariel, it's like, does she need that though? She's 10. And Kody's not giving that same kind of love and affection to Truly or to any of his other kids. So it was actually really interesting, like Ethel making that observation of Robin framing that conversation like
so
it's a
subtly,
confrontation.
but importantly.
Yes.
And I wondered if she caught herself doing it because she is the Cody Whisperer.
Yeah.
And we've had Janelle call her out for trying to constantly therapize and like be in that role. Like I wondered if she caught herself reframing it as a confrontation when it was Kody who introduced it as a conversation.
Yes.
Because then she's like, I mean, a good confrontation though. But like I think she was trying to set it up like worst case scenario would be she's trying to covertly present it to us as Kody goes over there to hang out with his kids and Aspen forces a confrontation in which she accuses Kody of neglecting her or something but Kody in that moment, he's so dumb anyway, but like in that moment he's like, no, it was actually a really great conversation. And so she asked me this question and I told her absolutely not, I love you. And two things, and I'm hoping I'm going to remember them both. But the first thing was, as a parent, that is not what I would have said. I would have ended with that. How much I love you. The first thing I would have said, though, would have been around taking responsibility for the fact that I have not contacted you. And even the way that he refers to this on the couch, and he's like, well, you know, because these women were talking about me and the kids were seeing me through their filter and, you know, I just couldn't deal with it or whatever. So like what you're actually saying then is that you took out on your children the problems that you had with their mothers instead of compartmentalizing, dealing with the moms on the side and still making space and time for these children. Like that's your mistake. That's what you did. It wasn't the onus of the onus wasn't on the children to reach out and maintain and manage these relationships. That is on the parent every single time. So that's the first thing. The second thing was that this felt like a private conversation. Like Aspen was not on camera. There have been other times that she could have brought it up on camera. Even to Christine. She has never done that. She has been very reserved. And while she's been supportive of her mother and she's been there for her mother, she's never trashed Kody. Not that I've seen at all. This felt to me like he's recounting the details of a private moment that Aspen tried to have with him, which gives him the benefit of framing and contextualizing it according to how he wants us to hear it. And it takes that away from Aspen. And did Aspen even want this out in the public square? Did she want us knowing that very vulnerably she went to her father and said, Daddy, why don't you like me? Like, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want the raccoons consuming that as trash if I'm just trying to ask my dad this vulnerable question. And yet he presents it producing content again in this moment. And I'm just like, oh God, that stinks too, honey.
That's actually a really, really good point, because Aspen is pretty private. Like, she doesn't really talk about this stuff. We've seen Isabel on camera express that she's upset with how her dad doesn't talk to her, doesn't engage in a relationship with her, but we haven't seen a lot of that from Aspen. And maybe there's footage of that got edited out or something. I don't know, but that's a really good point. I wonder how she feels about her dad talking about
putting
this,
her on blast,
and talking about it with Robin of all people, when I think, and I assume, most of the kids don't really like this bitch because she's awful. So it's very interesting. And to your point, like, Kody might be misrepresenting this whole conversation. Like, maybe it wasn't that beautiful. Maybe Aspen didn't leave that conversation feeling like things were resolved, or like she had her dad back in her corner. Maybe Kody's framing it like that because he's trying to rehab his image to us and trying to take responsibility or like be there for his kids when we know he isn't. And he even brings this up, like, he's like, I was afraid to reach out. I felt like, what did he say? He felt discouraged to reach out to his kids.
Unwelcomed.
Yeah. And I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Why?
Unwelcomed.
Because
like,
of the wives?
And apparently Aspen said, like, I've never been unwelcoming to you. Like, I've always wanted a relationship with you. I've never said anything bad about you a day in my life. And
Right.
he's like, yeah, but you don't understand. At that time in my life, I was feeling unwelcomed based on what was going on with these moms. And again, that's not the fault of the child.
No.
Aspen and all of the other kids as well, other than the ones that you have with Robin. Like,
Yep.
that's not their fault. You're the dad. You're the one who's supposed to be building the bridges
Yep.
and making those connections.
And that's such an emotionally immature thing
Yeah.
for him to say. Of like, well, I felt unwelcomed. These are your kids,
Yeah.
dude. They didn't ask to have their parents divorced. They didn't ask to even be on national TV and have their parents
No.
divorced be projected to the rest of the world and judged and nitpicked and analyzed and all this stuff. They just care about having their dad in their life.
Right.
And care about their dad being present in their life and asking them questions and wanting to be involved.
Right.
But, oh, okay, boo-hoo, you felt unwelcomed because your ex-wife left you.
Right.
Your kids didn't leave you. And that's the thing. Kody even admits that he assumed that the wives were just talking crap about him to the kids. And we have a scene with Christine being like, I've never done that. Which I'm like, I feel like you did a little bit.
You certainly have on television.
Yeah.
And we presuppose that your children are probably watching these episodes.
Well, and like, you're also calling up McKelty after your first date with David, being like, does Tony make you feel supported? And McKelty's like, yeah. And Christine's like, oh, cool. Like, because that's how David makes me feel. And then McKelty makes the assumption like, oh, that's how dad never made you feel. Like, you are talking to your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to the adult kids, at least,
Right.
about your divorce and how Kody made you feel. And you're saying all of this stuff on camera for them to ultimately watch.
Sure.
Like, it is happening, but at the same time, Kody should not have assumed. It's like the saying, like, assuming makes an ass out of you and me. Like, you shouldn't have assumed that the wives were talking crap about you and that the kids didn't want to see you.
Also, it doesn't matter. Even if these wives are talking bad about you, that doesn't change the fact that you should still be putting yourself in front of your kids.
Exactly.
I mean, even just to counter whatever these moms might be saying, like having your own life, having your own relationship and connections with these kids, that they can rely upon that. But your choice was just to ghost them. You just ghosted them and they never saw you again. I mean,
Right.
that's what it sounds like.
Freaking
And so
wild.
why
dude.
aren't we taking responsibility for that? Even in your interstitial or out to dinner with Robin, why aren't you talking about the things that you've done wrong? They're just so fucking vapid.
Yep.
Beatrice is just like, yeah, it was a really sweet moment. I told her I loved her. Of course I love you. Oh my God.
Whatever,
In
dude.
that moment, Aspen needed and required so much more emotional support, but you're not capable of it because there's nothing there except demonism.
Exactly.
And Robin's just sitting across the table like, oh my God, it sounds so great. Why didn't you go, Robin?
Exactly.
I mean, I thought you were super close with Tony and McKelty and their twins. I thought you were there for the birth and everything. I mean, granted, none of them want to see you, and
Right.
you're the reason. I'm sure that the kids feel you're the reason that their family has blown up. But for all of the love you say you have for all of these kids and the devastation that you feel because your family's been torn apart, why aren't you there making overtures or trying to have relationships?
Like, you guys are the grown adults here. I mean, I know the kids are adults too, but they're young adults. Like, you guys are the old adults. Like, grow up, suck it up. Be humble, but like they can never do that. And then we have this stupid conversation that's so scripted and dumb of Robin asking Kody, is one wife enough for you? Are you sure you don't want to live polygamy anymore? And this was so dumb because obviously we know the answer.
Right. And he said it a million times. And we've already discussed this with you, Robin.
Come on.
And don't act like you really want polygamy. You've never really wanted polygamy. You've only ever really wanted Kody. Don't act disappointed that now you're a monogamous. This is what you've always wanted. And now you have it. So here we are. And
she keeps talking about her faith. Like, I'm scared of plural marriage. I don't know if I want to live it again, but it's a part of my faith. Like, shut up. You're the only one that's subscribing to the AUB stuff. I mean, I guess
are they though?
Mary is, and Janelle kind of with the spiritual divorce. I mean, I guess, but like Robin's the only one that's saying she still believes in all this. But I'm like, you haven't been to the AUB church since you guys left Utah in season freaking 1 or 2 or wherever it was. Like, miss me with this. I'm so tired of this conversation.
Yeah, and I don't believe anything you have to say.
No.
And the reality is, and we're all in the reality TV cringe dumpster, is we realize that if he did bring a young chippy home and wanted to have another wife introduced to the family, you would absolutely not put up with that and you would leave him. There's just no way. There's no world in which you would ever let that happen. So stop lying. We all know this. Yep. Don't act like we don't know this.
I mean, for real. And then we end the episode with Kody in his interstitial reflecting on his comments that he made about never loving any of the OG3 women. And I thought this was really interesting because I don't know if it's like genuine, but maybe it is. It was just weird how he brought it up, like how he only said all of those things because he was angry and upset and like trying to shove off his feelings about all of these divorces and try to shift blame to like, oh, I just never loved any of them. But then he says out of his mouth, the truth is that he did love them and that he wishes nothing but the best for them, I guess.
Like that he would love if they could be friendly. Yeah. Like if the end result of all of this crap is that they could have friendships. Yeah, my vibe on that was that he is socially aware, like both Robin and him. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a PR crisis team or something. Somebody counseling them behind the scenes. Like, you got to address this. Like, you can't just say this crazy crap about these women. I mean, and you have to know how you're being perceived. So I have a feeling that they do. Yeah. And so he's doing damage control in these moments. And of course you loved them. We all know that you loved them. We've watched the show. Even in the beginning of the show, we're doing rewinds. We're in season 6. You were loving these women. So of course you did. And so now you're just trying to repair your image.
Yep. Yeah. And trying to, again, shift blame a little bit and be like, oh, I was just angry. It's like, even if you're angry, you shouldn't be saying such awful, vile things on public television.
Well, they were trashing me, and so I trashed them too.
Like, okay.
Don't really remember any of them out and out trashing you. In fact, they seemed like they were being pretty delicate with how they were handling you until you were out here saying all this wild stuff about them. Then they're like, okay, gloves off. We're just going to tell the truth then? Okay, let's tell the truth. And even so, they haven't been as hard on you as I would be in this moment, even with Mary.
Right.
Like, she's still covering for you to some degree.
No, they should be so much harder. They should be dragging you through the mud.
Filth. Drag him.
Oh my God. And you're lucky they are. Because I feel like they have, I don't know, 30 years of stories that they could tell.
Indeed.
To make you look even worse of a person. But they're not. They're being very careful.
Yep.
And so now he's also being careful. Oh, I only said those things because I'm mad.
What did you think about him admitting that his identity was tied up in how they viewed him and them telling him that he's awesome and them, the wives, telling their kids, your dad is awesome. And then his kids telling him, you're an awesome dad. Like, he was so invested in the perception of his family.
Yes.
Like, that was his whole identity.
That was really interesting.
That was truthful.
I think that was totally truthful. And it makes sense why he was so vitriolic and why he had such a negative reaction, because his whole world kind of turned upside down. Like, especially when Christine left. I don't think, and I've said this before, I don't think he was ever expecting Christine to be the first one to go.
Mhm.
I think he was hoping it was going to be Mary.
Yeah.
And that maybe Janelle and Christine would just stay and be platonic wives so he could keep their money and stuff. Like, he was never expecting this to happen. He wasn't expecting all three of them to leave in such a short period of time after each other. So, like, I'm not trying to justify Cody's actions because they were completely wrong and disgusting and despicable. But, like, it makes sense when he's saying that his whole identity was surrounded and formed by everyone else thinking he was so awesome.
And
Such
now
a good
all
dad.
of a sudden, all of those people, so the wives and the children, think that you're a piece of crap.
And the whole world.
And so I think what we witnessed was his extinction burst. Like, he could not handle how they felt about him, in addition to how the rest of us felt about him and how everybody's talking about him on social media. And he talks about how he was in such a dark place that he even considered walking away from Robin.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yes. Do we believe him?
Yeah, I believe him.
Okay.
But
why? Why would he ever do that? What else would he ever have outside of her and their life together?
I mean, he says it was self-destruction, which I could see, but, like, it would have been really interesting. Like, I feel like it was probably a manipulative tactic that he employed on Robin. Maybe that's what he meant by being unfair to her. Like, of him just being like, well, if I'm so fucking awful, then why don't you just leave me already?
Right.
Like that.
Or
kind
maybe
of a
I'll
thing.
leave you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I bet they were fighting.
Maybe. I think she was unhappy with him. And maybe that informs, even in these moments, like when they're out to dinner, like how she does feel energetically, like a bit trepidatious around him and unsure. Unsafe.
Yeah,
She feels unsafe because she really doesn't know. Like, are you better? Are you returning to your old self? Like, are we going to be okay? She does not know.
Even then, I'm like watching them as a couple. Like, we've been watching them since the beginning, right? I'm like, you guys are not the same as season 1. And obviously, like, honeymoon phases die out. Like, your relationship changes after you've been with each other for a long time. But I'm like, I don't see the chemistry there as much anymore.
I see it on his side. I still feel like he's sprung for her.
Of course, yeah.
He's in love with her.
Yes.
He thinks she's pretty. He wants to do all of these things for her. But, like, I don't know that she feels that for him.
I mean, yeah. And, like, how can your relationship really be the same after all of this? Like, your whole family's tarnished. Your images are tarnished. And, like, I don't think Robin appreciates being the villain in the public eye. It's why she's privatizing and deleting her Etsy accounts and, you know, being very secretive because she doesn't like all of her dirty laundry being aired out.
Right.
But I'm like, you're a terrible person, so that's what you get, you know?
Yeah.
But I just wonder how long this can really last. And maybe it will. Maybe it will last.
Well,
but what if they have to declare bankruptcy?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of conversations online around this kind of feeling like the last season of Sister Wives.
Yeah, it's very final.
Like, where are you going to go from here? Like, if we suddenly have a well-adjusted Kody who's not raging and unhappy, and we still have Robin just hiding all of the time, and like all of this produced content, and like the lives of the other women. I mean, we're happy for you, but it's kind of boring. I mean, if what we're getting is what Christine's giving, I don't want it.
No.
So, and this is such a long season.
I know.
It's anomalous in that way. Like, what if they are setting it up to close it down at the end of season 19?
I could see it.
Oh my God, what will Kody and Robin do?
They're gonna have to sell a lot of cameos.
A lot of cameos, and they're gonna have to sell their house.
Yeah,
and a lot of that artwork and that weird jewelry as well. Like, they're gonna have to make some significant changes in their life.
Definitely.
Because that's what a lot of people are feeling like. And when they drop like trailers or whatever on TLC, or like scenes from the next week or whatever, like the comments, honey, are just like, when are you getting these people off of our television? Like,
People
we don't
are
want to
over
see
it.
this anymore. Like, when is this? Wrap it up already.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if they do?
I mean, what are we gonna do? There's no way we're gonna have 20 more episodes in season 20.
Of what?
Of like
the
what?
lawsuit?
Maybe that would be interesting, but TLC's not going to give us that.
Well, then you've got nothing, really.
Exactly.
You don't have anything then, because like the only thing interesting about this season has been Coyote Pass.
Of course.
And obviously Mary leaving and all the women leaving and the spiritual release. Those things were interesting, but so much of this season has been filler and unnecessary.
Yep.
And TLC obviously produces shows that are filler and unnecessary.
Yes.
But I really don't know where we go from here.
No, and a lot of people are so tired of it. A lot of people are like, I don't even watch this season anymore. Like, I don't even care.
I just watch the recaps.
Yeah,
Yep.
like they're just watching podcasts like ours because they just don't want to be bothered by it. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do in these tell-alls and stuff and in these next coming episodes.
Well, even the preview for next week is boring AF. We've got Mary talking about dating.
I know. I'm like, ugh.
What was the other thing? It was Mary talking about dating.
Dating. She says people are uninterested in her because of her background. And then we have Christine saying her and David fight sometimes.
Who cares?
Like, nobody cares. But then they don't show the preview for what next week's episode's gonna be about, which is addressing Garrison.
But is it? Like,
yeah.
Because we only see that on the TLC, like, Instagram page.
Yeah, they
like
said next Sunday.
Okay, well, why didn't they show that in the preview? And are you telling me, Beatrice, are you telling me that we're going to have an episode where we finally talk about Garrison's unfortunate passing and how this impacts the family? We're going to have Janelle crying.
Yeah.
And then we're going to cut to David Woolley climbing over a fence, or we're going to cut to Mary dating in the same episode?
Yeah.
That is so inappropriate.
It's horrible.
That is really not the way to do it.
No, it's not.
I sure hope it doesn't go down like that.
It's going to go down like that.
It's not going to be a separate episode, you don't think? It's going to be in the same episode.
It's going to be in the same episode.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll get to that next week. And speaking of next week, I'm going to Colorado.
Yeah.
This weekend. So we're going to slide next week's podcasts just a little day later.
Just one day. So typically we release to the general pod on Wednesdays at 12:30, whether that's on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. If you're on Patreon, you get it the day before. But next week, it's going to be one day late. So general pod will be out. YouTube will be out on Thursday.
And we're covering a new show next week.
We are covering Poly Family.
Yeah. I almost called it the other thing I call it, but I'm not going to say it.
Don't do it.
We're going to cover Poly Family.
We're going to Poly Family. We're going to be covering that starting next week. Although later this week, we are going to have a preliminary Poly Family conversation in which we give our fake psychic predictions about what's going to happen in this season. And I'm excited about it. We're also going to be talking about Speak Pipes, and y'all been calling in. Y'all have some thoughts. We're going to cover that later this week. But next week will be a day late.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Beatrice.
Sorry about that.
She's going to go party or whatever, 420 in Colorado.
Going to a wedding.
Fun.
Yeah, I'm at a party.
Well, Beatrice, is there anything else that we need to say to these beautiful raccoons before we get up on out of here?
Well, if you love our podcast, please go to your favorite podcast platform and leave us a glowing 5-star review. Really helps us grow the pod so more people can join us on the dumpster. We really appreciate it. So thank you.
And like I said, we will be back later this week to talk Poly Family and take your Speak Pipe calls.
Yeah.
Also, if you are one of the VIP raccoons in the Patreon dumpster, stay tuned to this episode because we're going to continue our conversation and we're going to discuss that jewelry that Robin got for a Valentine's Day. So hang on for that. But for everybody else, please do not forget that we have nothing but love for you, and peace out.
Bye.
Bye, guys.